Hello, Bucs fans, and welcome to Bucs Game Day's YouTube channel, where we are doing an instant reaction video for the incredible football game we just watched, where the Bucs defeated the New Orleans Saints 27-19 to finish the season at 10-7, clinch the NFC South title for the fourth consecutive year, and are now guaranteed a home playoff game. Now, before we get into it with a couple of our colleagues from the field live at Raymond James Stadium, I want to just implore everyone to make sure that you are subscribing to our YouTube channel at BucsGameday. Make sure you're following us on Twitter and checking out the website on the regular, because we have content coming through every hour of the day. So, and of course, Bucs Game Day is Sports Illustrated's only website that's dedicated specifically to covering the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Fellas, we are still waiting to see who the Buccaneers opponent will be, but what we do know is that we have at least one playoff game that will be right where you are standing at this very moment, which is Raymond James Stadium. The Bucs, like we said they'd have to do on the Hear the Cannons podcast, they won 6 out of their last 7 games in order to make this playoff run. But before we talk more about the team element, we got to focus on Mike Evans, who in miraculous fashion managed to get the record to achieve his 11th straight 1,000-yard receiving season, tying the great Jerry Rice, only player in NFL history to do so over the course of his first 11 seasons. Logan, you put out a great video there from the press box, and I really want to hear from you. How was the vibe in the stadium? And just tell us about, from your vantage point, what that moment meant to the fans, Mike Evans, his teammates. I know you were there for his interview after, so let us hear it from your perspective, man.
Yeah, man, I think coming into this week, just all the way going back to when we were at One Buck, hearing from the team, the coaches, along with some of the players in the locker room, the focus on him reaching that goal. Tristan Wirfs put it straightforward, saying, "Oh, he's going to get it." Baker said he's going to get it, and the coaches aren't going to fully go that way, but they all were leaning towards where Mike was going to reach that 1,000-yard mark, and to see it come to fruition right here, and like you said earlier, dramatic fashion. I think too the press box, everybody was just in awe of what the Bucs were going to do. Todd Bowles easily, yes, you just kneel it there and you call it a game, but no, we heard from Bowles afterward, and we heard also too from Mike Evans himself. Liam Cohen and Todd Bowles wanted him to reach that mark and make history, and continue to do so, because this man is still on a mission. How many games he lost this last season too? It just goes to show what an incredible player he is, and what he's gone through too with so many quarterbacks through his career in Tampa Bay. But just to hear his happiness afterwards, saying that he's going to celebrate with some of his teammates. I think Jaylen McMillan, the rookie star, you can call him a star now, wide receiver, the second half of the season has been incredible. And I think those two are headed to the casino tonight to go celebrate, and it's well worth it. But still, a short time of celebrating, and got a big playoff run in store for Tampa Bay.
For sure. And I want to talk about the guy who delivered that pass to Mike Evans, Baker Mayfield. Caleb, it wasn't his most prolific performance, and we've seen plenty of those this season. But I thought Baker was very poised, and he didn't force the issue, which for Bucs fans might be even more encouraging than him putting up absurd stat lines. He was 21 for 32 for 221 yards through the air, 1 TD, 1 interception. So not spectacular, but very steady. Also worth mentioning, a career high 68 yards rushing. Caleb, how would you assess Baker Mayfield's performance today in the game the Bucs had to have?
He did what he needed to do. I'd spoken with a few of you guys before, and we didn't really need to do much. He just needed to have an okay game. He could have even turned the ball over, which he did, and be okay. And he did a lot with his legs. He mentioned in the press conference that what they were giving him was taking away the pass a little bit more so than in allowing him to utilize his legs a little bit more there in the running game, which we obviously saw him come down with 68 yards, which is awesome. He was shocked by it as well whenever he was talking at the podium following the game. So really awesome stuff. The turnover was a bit questionable, but then you also saw him get happy feet a little bit here and there around the middle of the game, but he got out of that really quick. Threw a beautiful dime off balance, on the run there from 30-something yards out to Jaylen McMillan. So absolutely, great game from Baker Mayfield. Didn't need to impress any more than he already has this year. Just needed to beat Baker, and he was able to help the team come to a victory, and he's also going to earn, some healthy incentives of his own now that he's going to be in top 5 or top 10 in numerous NFL and NFC categories.
I was just going to comment. I asked Todd Bowles about that throw to J-Mac. That was a nasty throw. That was a beautiful throw from Baker Mayfield. And he's been doing that this whole season. But like you were saying there, Caleb, utilizing his legs today. I mean, he puts the whole team on his back. And you also, too, the Saints kind of got into a scuffle with him a little bit. And you see the entire offense go and fight for Baker. But that's just what he brings to the table. And Mike Evans said that he's just one of the best teammates he's ever had. And super lucky to have Baker on his team as his quarterback.
Not one, but 2 dimes to Jaylen McMillan. The incredible 4th and 8 call by Todd Bowles, which I'm not going to lie, I didn't necessarily expect Todd Bowles to do that, but when he went for it, Baker stepped in a bit of a muddy pocket and delivered that strike. I want to ask Logan about the penalty there. Was that, you think, soft officiating? I mean, it looked like he was kind of just pointing like first down, like to the end zone, but of course there's the shooting thing. So like,
yeah,
was that a mistake by the rookie regardless? Was it a soft call? What are your thoughts? And what happened after, man? Why did it take 10 minutes for them to figure out it's not 1st and goal from the 25-yard line, it's 1st and 10?
Dude, first off, yes, definitely a soft call. Well, let's man up here. Let's play some football. We're not watching tennis. Let's play some football. Let's have some fun. There's number one. Number two, we asked Todd Bowles about that penalty. He told us that because of the fingers that were taped up, it made him where it looked like there was a gun symbol coming from his hands, but it was easy just to show that, he's reached that first down. But he made up for it. Him and Todd Bowles talked on the sideline. I was watching that with the binoculars, seeing what they were discussing, and then he comes back and responds and makes an incredible play with Baker from that throw. And J-Mac, he has been improving and getting better. We all, you and I, Caleb, and the rest of some of our BG guys here locally in Tampa, during training camp, he was a guy that was a start, even going before training camp. He was a guy during OTAs, rookie mini camp, like all throughout that preseason process that continued to make strides and connect with chemistry with Baker Mayfield. And for Chris Godwin being out earlier in the season and for the rest of the season, to see him step up, it is key to have a guy like that. And Mike Evans having some strong comments on him afterwards, saying that Bucs fans have a damn good young wide receiver that they're going to have in their franchise for years to come.
Yeah, seven TDs on the season for J-Mac, who had a really quiet stretch that first half of the year. So he has really come on. Like that might be 7 TDs in his last 5 games, if I'm not mistaken. So really impressive stuff. As you see here, Brian Tampa watching us on YouTube says nobody gives the Bucs O-line the credit they deserve. Outstanding job all season. Brian, I totally agree that they deserve a ton of credit and they've done an outstanding job. But I got to say, man, I am seeing them get credit around from my vantage point around the league. You got AQ Shipley on Pat McAfee every week highlighting O-line groups. Brandon Thorne, who writes for Establish the Run, he's like a certified O-line expert. Lots of people are acknowledging the job this O-line has done, and the ascension of the Bucs running game doesn't just fall on the shoulders of Bucky Irving. It's not just him. It's how this O-line group has gelled together. Definitely deserve a lot of credit. That said, though, this kind of leads me into my next point, Caleb, which was there were quite a few penalties today, like really costly penalties, several on Ben Bredesen. I thought it was a poor game by him. And I'm curious if you think there's some discipline issues, like at this point of the year in a game this important. That's tough to see those pop up, and thankfully Baker was able to get them out of it. But is that cause for concern heading into the playoffs?
It's been something we've been talking about here as of late. I know it all kind of got started with, hey, the Buccaneers are one of the least penalized teams in the entire league, and now all of a sudden it seems like everything's become more glaring when that happens. But luckily enough, like you mentioned, Colin, today the Buccaneers were able to dig themselves out of the holes that they put them into. But yes, it's week 18. We're heading into the playoffs. Luckily, you're in the NFC South, and you can get by with some of these things. But you can't have this many penalties happen that are just detrimental. The holding calls are ridiculous. The false start after a sack is ridiculous. You can't have these compounding issues that continue to arise for the Bucs, and it causes them to be inconsistent, right? It throws off your rhythm of any sorts that you have, whether it be offense or defense. So it's definitely concerning. It can definitely come back to bite, the Buccaneers and the what later on down the road. And this road that we're on now is one that you're going to be gone off of. There's no more, hey, you can drop one or this the rest of the way. It's, do or die. You either win or you go home and you're sitting over there in Costa Rica somewhere. So the Buccaneers don't want that, so they'll have to figure it out. And hopefully the coaches are holding them accountable as well as themselves in practice as they get ready for a team that's going to be a tough challenge no matter what it is. So you can't be, knee jerk when it comes to these things, but it's got to get under control.
Yeah, and speaking of having to get under control, Todd Bowles' defense has struggled a lot this year, and injuries have certainly been a part of it. They're missing several guys, and of course, prayers up for Jordan Whitehead alongside Antoine Winfield Jr., who was out, and Jamel Dean. So that's like 3 of their top DBs. So the excuses are there. However, the performance of this defense over the course of the season has simply been a major disappointment. It's hard to imagine how good this team could be if the defense was even average or close to it, but they have not been. And that continued in this first half, making Spencer Rattler look like prime Drew Brees. He was 21 for 28 for 181 yards and a touchdown in the first half. However, Todd Bowles, he made some adjustments at halftime, and the Saints only scored 3 points in the second half. So they had 16 in the first, only 3 in the second. So you got to give them some flowers there. But man, was it tough to see this defense. Brady on the broadcast, you guys obviously wouldn't have heard it, but I did, was being very critical of the cushion, the cushion that the outside corners were giving, which the Saints offense was taking advantage of. Josh Hayes was getting absolutely torched. They were picking on him. I mean, can this team win a playoff game if this defense doesn't they are going to get a bit healthy. It sounds like get a few guys back, but Logan, I'm curious. Like, is this defense gonna stop them from matching what they did last year, which was win a playoff game?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think Antoine Winfield, Mike Evans was kind of alluding to in the presser, feel like they're going to get some guys back, and I definitely think he's pointing towards Antoine Winfield. We saw him in practices this week, actually on Thursday, where he was warming up with the team, so there's some better signs that he's going to be available for this playoff game, depending on what day that's going to be this next weekend. But I think the biggest thing, we were talking about it in the press box, they've got to find a passing attack. They got to get to the quarterback. And sure, yes, there was some times tonight, I want to say tonight because it's already getting dark, but earlier this afternoon where they were getting back there, it was really relied on your interior from Kalijah Kancey and also to Vita Vea, who grabbed another sack, that Pro Bowl. Congrats to him on making it there. But maybe Shaq Barrett, they brought in Shaq Barrett. He definitely wasn't full game ready today. We saw him maybe in a few snaps. I don't know how many there were, but he did play a little tiny bit. But now you're expected to see him play definitely more once they reach the playoffs here this next weekend. But the biggest thing, there was just not disciplined play a lot. And that's kind of been the theme a little bit throughout this season. And they've got to tighten up in a lot of ways. And, this Bucs team offensively as well, too, need to keep their foot down on the gas and not have those second quarters that they've had throughout this entire regular season. The good thing is, like Todd Bowles said, you made it to the playoffs. A new season begins now. You kind of throw those things out the door, but you still hopefully learn from the mistakes you made. If both sides of the ball can play well, there's playmakers enough for the Bucs to make a run. It's just about playing smart, taking care of the ball, and understanding where your assignments are. And also, too, missed tackles. There's a lot of those today, and that's happened throughout the season as well. Clean up some things, play smart, and you never know how far you can go in this playoff run, gentlemen.
For sure, and the Bucs have proven that they can beat good teams as well. You look no further than them taking the Chiefs to overtime. Although they lost that one, they've beaten the Lions. Like they got a number of certified strong victories under their belts. The Eagles they beat. So that being said, though, I think there's no question that certain teams would be more appetizing on the playoff menu than others. And in case anyone is unaware, like right now, the Rams and Seahawks, the Seahawks are beating the Rams 17-10. And if the Rams drop that game, unless I'm mistaken, then that would set the Bucs up to host the Commanders next week, which in my opinion would be a pretty significant upgrade or downgrade instead of playing the loser of the Lions or the Vikings. Caleb, what are your thoughts on how big of a deal that is. And once fans are done checking out this instant reaction, they should probably go and tune into that.
Yeah, I mean, it's big. You just kind of laid it out for us. But either way, if you are looking at it, depending on which team you're wanting to win, the Commanders do make a lot more sense. You're getting a rookie in a playoff atmosphere, you've already played once here in your home stadium and beat him. But yeah, that was week one. What better, storyline other than you're meeting again in the wild card round. That's amazing stuff. Jaden Daniels returns to Tampa Bay looking for revenge against Baker Mayfield and company. The headlines are going to be great, fantastic, but this team in Washington or in Maryland, that is tough. They're not this young team that's led by a rookie that just so happened to make the playoffs. They're legit. We saw them just beat the Eagles. Yeah, they did it, with Kenny Pickett, running the offense to Philly instead of Jalen Hurts. But they've also beaten some good teams, and their offense is just as, powerful, or can be just as powerful as the Buccaneers, despite only really having one true weapon there in the skill position area with Terry McLaurin. Outside of that, they're having to rely on guys like Olamide, Zacchaeus. I'm trying to even think. Zach Ertz is still as well. Luke McCaffrey, guys like that. So, but if you were to face a team, whether it be the Vikings or the Lions in tonight's game, I think you would be okay facing the Lions. And that has to do with pretty much their entire defense being on injured reserve, right? They don't have the guys to be able to match up against the Buccaneers offense. But then again, can the Buccaneers defense be able to stop that Detroit Lions offense? Not quite sure. We've seen them step up to the plate and do it earlier this year. Again, teams a lot different than they were at that moment in time. So it would be interesting, but I think the team you would least want to face is probably the Vikings. That can be a dangerous team for you. But I think if you face the Commanders or if you end up facing the Lions, I think you have a great chance to be able to win that first game in the playoffs and make it to at least where you did a season ago.
Sounds good. Yeah, that's fair. That makes a lot of sense. Logan, I want to shift the topic of discussion to the Buccaneers backfields. Bucky Irving continues to do what Bucky Irving does. 19 rushes for 89 yards, and he was, he had a couple catches as well. But it was interesting to me that Rachaad White did not register a reception or a carry in this entire game. That has to be the first time that he was active for that to happen. Is that a sign to come? Is Rachaad White being pushed out, or do you think that was more just like game script, how this particular matchup worked out?
Maybe so. I mean, Liam Cohen, I think they've definitely found out when they're watching film and just how he impacts games. Bucky Irving is arguably the best running back in that room. Just way that he's able to get down the field. He can cut. He's got good vision. That's the best thing about him. And two, he's a small back, but he's very, very hard to tackle. He's annoying to try to tackle. And I think his vision is top tier. That's why it was a steal in the draft and grabbing him. And so you match that in tandem with Rachaad White. Who knows if that was a game scheme, if that was what Liam Cohen wanted to put together in this script for this game alone, hoping they can come and get this win, not have to show too much with Rachaad White. And then what you could do is show more of your hand in next week's game against whoever opponent it's going to be. But it's pretty clear right now that the Bucs feel very comfortable with Bucky Irving as RB1, and two, giving him a good test too as well at that position, and he's continuing to learn and get better there as well. And it's been incredible to see what they've done in this draft class. How many rookies on both sides of the ball have been impact players for them this entire season. And Bucky's he's a fun guy to cover. Just hearing the chants here in Raymond James Stadium, hopefully it's going to be for years and years and years to come, because he's going to be a big time fan favorite to end off this year, and then going into 2025 like we are right now into this next season. Man, oh man, there's going to be a lot of number 7 jerseys sold, but super fun guy to cover. And, I think he's earned that RB1 argument for sure. And I do think we are going to see more implementation of Rachaad White. It's just got to work what fits best in the game scheme moving forward.
Yeah, that's fair. And you are bang on about this draft class. I mean, Caleb, we talked about Jaylen McMillan already, but his teammate for the Washington Huskies, Devin Culp, stepped in really nicely for with Cade Otton being absent, and another Washington Husky, and hopefully he'll be back for their playoff game. But what do you think of Devin Culp, man? 2 for 36, but the way he did it.
I mean, it's great. I mean, over the past 2 games, he's taken advantage of the opportunities that have been given to him, right? That's all you want to see from a guy like a Devin Culp. You were drafted way, way late in the NFL draft process. You've been so many, probably coach's decision not to, be on the active roster, not anything due to your own fault or anything. And then your opportunity arises and you take full advantage of it. That's exactly what he's done last game, exactly what he's done this game. Nothing over the top spectacular other than showing great hands. That's something that we've noticed early on with him is he's got great, strong hands. He did have some issues with drops in his college career, but those haven't come to bite him at all this far into his NFL career. We saw him make a pretty disgusting catch last week, and then this week in traffic, Baker threw a ball. It was like pretty much a hospital ball at the end of the day, but Devin was able to grab it in between traffic and knew a big hit was coming, put the ball away, able to come down with a first down catch. So really great to see him utilize his talents once he is able to get on the field. And it should only help, with the Buccaneers continuing to, develop that room. They seem to be doing a great job at it and have for quite some time. So Devin is going to be a great guy already. So hopefully that continues to manifest itself in the more playing time for him.
Dude, I want to comment real quick because I'm a big Devin Culp fan. We saw him in training camp, a dude that was catching some great balls from Baker Mayfield over the middle, and we we're like, holy smokes, Devin Culp, hello. All right, can you match that potentially with Kate On? Look at Payne Durham as well. Payne Durham, I mean, you have some good pass catchers at the tight end position. That's not easy to do. Usually you have some guys that are just block heavy and whatnot. You had that with Coke Keith, of course, but you have 3 versatile tight ends that you can utilize quite a bit. And one name that I keep forgetting about, and then it takes me a minute when we're going through the list of all these rookies, but Graham Barton. I mean, what a pivotal player he's been in this offense as well, and helping this run game be successful. I mean, credit to like what we're talking about, the offensive line, and two, one of your biggest pieces with the glue is Graham Barton. And man, the Bucs did a great job in what they were doing, evaluating him. And I know, Colin, you do a phenomenal job for us whenever we hit the end of the season, already jumping in and looking at guys that the Bucs are going to go after. But Graham Barton was a big-time grab, and it's going to be one that is going to be in this stadium playing for a long while with the way that he's played so far in just his rookie season.
Yeah, always good when you don't hear number 62 called on the microphone by the referee, and it was not today, which means, if you're not noticing him, he's probably doing a pretty darn good job. And Bucky Irving's success running up the gut too would be indicative of that. And that pocket was clean a lot today, and Baker Mayfield sure took advantage of it. But again, I think the most encouraging takeaway from this football game was Baker's poise. He didn't panic, and he kept his eyes downfield. He was going through his progressions. You could see it just from watching on TV. So I think that is encouraging. I'm going to give each of you guys a chance to pick a player of the game before we wrap up. Who you think, for whatever reason, is deserving of the player of the game status. First one who thinks they can come up with one, or they want to take that, have at her. Caleb, I'll throw it to you down below. You got the smirk.
It's kind of hard to pick because everybody just kind of did a solid job. There's not one player that kind of stuck out over the others or did one thing drastically that, kind of changed the game. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of give it to Jaylen McMillan here for, being able to mentally know throughout this season that like you're going to be relied upon at some point. Start hot really early in that first game and then kind of disappear for 8 weeks of the season. You're just nowhere to be found, can't score in the end zone, got to be frustrating. You're in your rookie season, Chris Godwin's now out, you're getting your chances, but things aren't coming to fruition for you, and all of a sudden things have started to click for him. He's starting to reach the end zone sometimes multiple times in one game, and then just doing it again, being able to realize, hey, I made a mistake here on this play just by celebrating, even though it still helped the team out. I still cost my team 15 yards, and I was able to get that back and atone for that earlier mistake. So being able to have the mental awareness as a rookie is only going to benefit him moving down, down the line. And the Bucs seem to have found another good one, and he's in a prime position to take off for the playoffs. He's looking really good, coming into his own here at a perfect time for the Buccaneers. So they're going to need him, and I hope he's ready for those lights.
How about you, Logan? If you got a game ball, who are you going to give it to?
Yep. I like the J-Mac pick. I'm going to go over to Baker. I know he threw his interception today. That was a bad throw. It is what it is. It's football. Like Mike Evans said, it's going to happen. bad throw is going to happen is what it is. But Baker utilizing his legs, I think, is what kept the Bucs and to make me feel more comfortable that they were going to win this game. A lot of things felt a little stale there, definitely in the first half, but then Baker having to utilize his legs, get down the field, and really build some momentum. He brings that fire, he brings that energy just overall that just helps this team build momentum in games. And I think that's what takes you far in playoffs. And I think we're going to have to see Baker do that more as well. He came out of that game healthy as well, but we are going to see him use his legs, I think, because this offense needs it at times too as well. If DBs are locking up your wide receivers and your targets, then you can look at a guy that, we were talking about in the press box. He's not going to be like a Jaden Daniels. He's not going to be like even like some of these other quarterbacks that can run the ball, like a Josh Allen. Baker Mayfield's a different guy. He'll still try to put a juke on you and break your ankles, but more what he's more important. Like, I think the biggest thing from Baker, which is pretty funny, is that after he gets tackled and he's made some yards and he's definitely made the first down, he's going to let you know about it. He's going to go stand over you and try to instigate maybe a flag coming back from the other team. That's just how Baker is. But I love it. I love that fieriness, and I think that's something that the Bucs lost a couple of years ago with Tom Brady in his last season. He just didn't have any life in that team, and the locker room was dead. It's the complete opposite, man. Going in that locker room behind Baker, these guys want to play for him there, and we saw that whenever that scuffle happened, this team will go and they'll take on whoever to back up their guy because they know that he's going to put the whole entire team on his back. So I give Baker not the cleanest and greatest game like you were saying earlier in this show, Colin, but the guy using his legs and trying to build some momentum for this team is what I think helped a ton. But, J-Mac is right there with them as well. Those two connecting precisely for some big plays to beat the Saints.
Yeah, another guy I'll throw a bone to is Yaya Diaby. It felt like he was making more of an impact than we've seen at points this year. At least he got the big sack. I think he got an assist, bunch of pressures. So he was getting his nose dirty, which is always good to see. This team is going to need more from their defensive line in terms of pressure in the passer. You can't all depend on Vita Vea and Kalijah Kancey inside. They got to find something from the edges. You talked about it earlier, Logan. Maybe we'll see a bit of that from Shaq Barrett, but there'll be no other reinforcements coming between now and a week from now. So with that being said, I think I want to just thank everyone for tuning in. I want to remind you that to subscribe to our YouTube channel here. We've got player interviews. We've got coverage twice a week. We usually do an instant reaction, and then we preview the game every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So make sure you hop over here, check us out on YouTube, and then we'll try and get to your comments or questions during the week, during the show. And make sure you're checking out BucsGameday.com. We've got a team of writers who are just constantly producing opinion pieces, breaking news, all sorts of different content for you to consume. So we greatly appreciate the support. And with that being said, I want to thank Logan, our founder of Bucs Game Day, down there from the field, fellow writer Caleb Skinner from the field. Look at that view. Look at that view. Beautiful. Raymond James, baby, on after a win. Can't beat it, folks. Can't beat it. And that's why you got to stick with Bucs Game Day moving forward. So thanks for joining us. And until next time, go Bucs.